Joe here, your reliability man, bridging the gap between best practices and the reality that you live every day. Bringing to you stories from my life and times as a plant manager, 32 years as a practitioner, and driving a reliability culture. Today's topic, hey, Joe, you went to the SMRP conference last week in Louisville. What'd you think of that? Okay, I've divided this up into categories, what I thought was outstanding, good, fair, and poor. Okay, outstanding. First of all, the venue, the Marriott, the Kentucky Convention Center, absolutely fantastic setup. The way they had the vendors, there were about 150 vendors there, very professionally set up, a lot of networking time, everybody eager to share their lessons learned. Nobody was guarded with their technology, their practices, just willing to help the community. Just a great human experience, I'll say, for me. You know, the keynote speaker was a guy named Aaron Ralston, who talked about his time in a mountain cavern, I think, where he got his hand stuck and ended up having to cut his arm off to get to security. But it was a movie became of it called 127 Hours. And he talked about, you know, what life's all about. It's all about your family and your friends and those that you love. So great community of thinkers. There were about 1,200 people in attendance, round numbers. Like I said, the quality of the vendors, they weren't just salespeople. They were really trying to help you. I really appreciated that. Really the best of humanity there. Great group of people. Professional and high quality content. I love the food. The food was very good by the Marriott. One vendor I want to single out because I was just surprised. The name of the business is The Manufacturing Game. It's a simulation that not only, you know, tries to simulate the manufacturing environment, but I've seen them that did planning and scheduling before and stores management, all good stuff. But this one added problem solving. It was fabulous. Really recommend that. It was a big event in my life going through a simulation. I did a different one, but I like the aspects of this one. I'm going to include some information below on it. Manufacturing Game. I talked to Michelle Henley about that, so I'll give you her contact information. That was all the outstanding. What was the good? Presenters knew their material and were able to answer questions with examples. All tracks in SMRP were represented, so you can see a variety of topics. You know, I'm kind of a veteran of manufacturing and reliability, so I found the material a little basic. You know, I went to about 6 sessions. You know, but for new folks, I think it was pretty good. The good stuff for me was in the questions and then the after the meeting out discussions with people that went to the same event as I did. The networking, that's where the meat is. Between classes, at lunchtime, who you had breakfast with, that's where the real value came in for me. But so I rated all those good. You know, the fair, you know, the networking event, we went to Churchill Downs. It was a very good event. You know, you got to see the history of racehorsing and hang out with some great people. Had some bourbon tasting that was going on. It was a good event, a little pricey, guys, a little pricey. You know, there were only about 120 of the 1,200 that attended, so you're talking about 10%. So it wasn't well attended. I think the price scared a lot of people off, just to be honest with you. You know, the closing, you know, I'd rate that fair, and I'm being a little kind there. You know, the panel was too academic, actually lacked diversity. You know, there were no leaders that actually deployed reliability maintenance tools, practices, and cultures on the panel. So it was just kind of high level, needed some people that have been there on the front lines, some veterans with some battle scars that would have, I think, rounded out the panel. Not bad, I'm just giving it a fair. Okay, poor. Now this is not really a reflection of SMRP, it's really a reflection of our community, the community that I'm a part of and you're a part of. 47% of the attendees to this conference, and this is a number I think I got from SMRP, there were vendors and consultants. That's a problem. You know, the huge elephant in the room is the lack of people that had experience in deploying these tools and practices and culture change on the shop floor. I'm not talking about, You know, the consultants that are guiding you and coaching you and training you. I'm talking about people sitting in the hot seat. The people that have to get results from this, are accountable for getting results from this, and have to live with it on Christmas Day when they're not reliable. That's what I'm talking about. There's a great, I call it pink elephant in the room that we need to deal with as a community. You know, we don't have a technology problem, and it's common knowledge. You know, I was in dozens of conversations where we know how to do this stuff. We just need people to listen. That's what the vendors say. So you need people from an execution standpoint that have solved this and solved this 5, 10, 20 times to help others be their guide, right? Okay, one example, and this is a simple one, but I was in a discussion around making good planned jobs, good work packs. You know, what makes a good work pack? How do you write them? You know, what do you include in them? What makes a good work pack? Well, after about a 30-minute discussion on that, about what makes a good work pack, at the very end when we were closing, and this was a presentation, when we were closing, under the presenter's breath, he said, well, you make this perfect work pack and it's not like the mechanics are going to use it. They're just going to throw it on their scooter and not even refer to it. And that really highlights a big problem, folks. It's great to have a good work pack for new people, you know, a new mechanic, new electrician, you know, to be able to come in and know how to do a job and have all those historical lessons. But if 95% of the people aren't using the work pack, we got a problem. What's going on? We got an execution problem. How did people solve that? How do people, and there's lessons, if you listen to my videos, I got a whole bunch of lessons in there around how to make that more impactful. So creating a great plan that's not executed, might as well save your time, right? I'm not trying to be critical, just trying to raise awareness. You know, the room lacked deciders. I have an earlier video called Advisors and Deciders. Who owns reliability? Reliability is owned by operations and the plant manager. Those are the people making the decisions on what we spend money on, what we take outages on. The advisors, we had 1,200, well, we had 1,199 of them at the conference, 1,199. You know, I was, one of the sessions I was in, there were about 200 people there. They said, hey, raise your hand if you're an operations leader or plant manager. Well, I raised my hand. I was the only one to raise my hand. You know, so you got all these advisors in the room and no deciders. We've got to be able to bring the leaders, the decision makers, we got to bring them into the conversation, not just to sponsor something by an email or edict. They got to be full-time participants inside of the R&M community. Let's see. Tools, you know, and this is again under the POR, tools and technical process training really dominated the discussions. And again, we don't have a technology problem. We don't have a tool problem. We got an execution problem. This needs to be fixed. You know, as you know, my YouTube channel that you're listening to right now is dedicated to closing that gap. It's all about the culture, right? How do we change a culture? One experience at a time. There's a whole bunch of videos on that. So my suggestions going forward, you know, we got to address these POR, you know, especially the lack of operations leaders. You know, hey, SMRP, and I gave them this in a written feedback. I just did this morning. How about free attendance for plant managers and operations leads? You know, maybe the first 100, you know, get to go free to add that diversity and put the advisors in the room. Okay, number 2, require 50% of the presenters to have execution experience over 5 years. You know, I love the academics. I learn a lot. They stretch me a lot. I love the professional consultants that have been in 100 plants. But if you don't have practical work experience, sitting in the hot seat, sitting in the seat that is responsible, we're missing something, and that's what's missing in this community. And that's why we're not getting the results. Then that's why there's frustration between the two groups. Okay, so your lean-driven reliability task for this week. You know, how are you going to bring your plant manager and ops leaders into the inner circle of reliability? You know, I have a video out there on who owns reliability. I'm going to put a link to that in here. You know, how? What's some examples of how? Have them attend the conference next year. Have them attend another conference. Get them. How about having your operations leaders require them to be CMRPs? Create a go and see culture. So when a problem happens, you don't just talk about it in the conference room. You go and see the failure. Talk about how simple equipment is. Take the fear out of the equipment. You know, have operations leads. They need to be leading the planning and scheduling meetings, folks. How about creating monthly update meetings for PDM finds, for OEE updates on equipment? They got to get involved. You know, operations needs to lead the governance meeting, the meeting where you're talking about the strategic goals of your plant. Operations led, guys. Okay, they not just need to be aware, they need to lead. That means in the meeting, at the head of the table, make decisions. They own the reliability. Begin your journey, folks. You get free pointers from me. You got 35 videos out there now. This stuff isn't that hard. If you want an experienced guide, reach out to me. I'll answer your emails. If you want me to come to your plant, I promise you I can shave years off your deployment just from experience. Not that I'm any smarter than anybody. I've just got a lot of battle scars of doing this wrong and a lot of success doing it right. Hit like and subscribe. Thank you.